Hello and welcome to the future of XYZ. Today we are speaking with Manda Apte, a friend of mine who right now is based in India. He is the executive director of Cities for Peace, which is an organization, nonprofit actually, that teaches nonviolence to civic stakeholders all around the country, in the US and around the world soon. He's also a director of a film that's called From India with Love, which if you haven't seen it, it is on Amazon and amazing. He spent 17 years as a chemical engineer at Shell, the world's largest oil company, before pivoting into a role there where he created a program called Game Changers, which I still am dying to have the title Game Changer on my business card, but that's to come. That program funded startups through proof of concept, really around social innovation. And during that time, leading that program, he was awarded the League of Entrepreneurs Award, which in fact was awarded by Ashoka and Accenture, focused on Mandar's work, teaching meditation and leadership and innovation to over 2,000 of his colleagues at Shell. So Mandar, thank you for joining us on Future of XYZ today.
Oh, thank you so much. When you read this bio, I felt like I spent nearly 2 decades in the belly of the beast and survived.
You survived, and you took away some amazing lessons and did some incredible work in specifically the topic we're speaking about today, which is the future of intrapreneurship. You were awarded prizes for your intrapreneurial endeavors. So let's start by saying, what is intrapreneurship?
Yeah, I won this award in 2012 by the League of Entrepreneurs. And until that time, I had no idea what even this word existed. So the word is actually very beautifully coined. It's in entrepreneur, but inside a large organization, hence intrapreneur, right?
Makes sense.
And there could be many differences, but for me the biggest difference between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur is that when you get hired, or when you're working in a large organization, like I was working at Shell, I was hired for my college education, my degree, my expertise, my research. But that need not be my passion, or my passion could change. It need not be my educational background. Now, if you want to bring your passion at work, that is not what you are hired for. So if you start talking to people about your passion, the people that you work with, they are confused. Like, why is he, it's confusing. So an entrepreneur needs to be a tempered radical until you find the environment, which simply means your direct line supervisor, who encourages you to bring that passion at work. You have to be a tempered radical, right? So the proof of concept for bringing your idea to life takes a little while. It's not easy. You have to create the surrounding atmosphere. You have to have a line manager. So the idea may be there with you for many years, but to bring the proof of concept requires a time gap.
It's a fascinating idea. I mean, as someone who has never had a role that existed before I've taken it, I know a little bit about, change agenting. And I joke now, people say, why did you start your own thing? And I always joke, I say, because what I've learned is that there are 10,000 ways of failing in entrepreneurship. And, 9,998 of them really almost have nothing to do with you or your passion.
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurs need to have a skill that, you can't lose your passion, because that has become you. It's like a calling. And you work in a large organization, whether it's a for-profit organization or a civic organization, and you see this impact of the scale. If you do the proof of concept, the scale is huge. The ability to change is huge. So entrepreneur needs to be a tempered radical till, like I said, certain conditions are met. after which there is no, when you do your proof of concept, the scale is very easy because networks are in place, capital is in place. Entrepreneur is the exact opposite. To do the proof of concept requires you to have, few $100, maybe a garage, maybe, a coding background or a few friends that can help you stay with them, etc. Proof of concept very easy to do, or relatively easy to do.
Yep.
Scale up is very difficult because this entrepreneur doesn't know networks, doesn't have connections, doesn't have access to funding. So that is the main difference between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur, according to me.
Interesting. And so I love this idea of being a tempered radical and having the patience until the conditions are met. What other skills are necessary as we think about entrepreneurship today and we think about it in the future? What are the skills that are necessary for effective entrepreneurial venture?
I mean, you can have many skills, but I think the core of this is the first is passion. To have a passion about something bigger than you, right? So something that is not just earning you another paycheck or another $1 million, right? Something that is beyond you, that you want to bring to life. And you see the opportunity that if I do this inside this organization, whether it's a city organization or a for profit, like I said, many people are going to benefit. So that kind of passion. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Second skill that an entrepreneur needs is dispassion. And that is a muscle that no educational program teaches you how to build. So what do I mean by dispassion? Your passion may not be uh, accepted, recognized, appreciated for a long time. Like I said, until you create the surrounding, the atmosphere and the line supervisor, you will need to somehow keep that passion under control, at the same time not give it up. And that requires you to build this muscle of dispassion, which means the ability to let go.
Mm.
Let go, which means the ability to have a good night's sleep when things are not working well. Because if you're passionate about something, then naturally you're going to take it at home, wherever you go, because that's your life. Dispassion simply means you are skillful in not allowing that to affect your own health, well-being, communication skills, etc., etc. Right? So dispassion is the ability to let go. That doesn't mean giving up. Yeah. So it's a delicate balance. And the third and the most important skill is compassion.
Mm-hmm.
For yourself and for people around you, because most people who are entrepreneurs are innovators, they have an idea and they spend their blood, life, sweat on this idea, but forget to take self care. And so that self compassion is so critical, because you are a change maker and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So self care often goes in the background.
Yes.
And then compassion for others, because you might have the best idea and the people around you may be dumb. Right? So you have to somehow not show them that they are dumb, because they don't get the idea now and they may never get it, but you can't show it on your face or your behavior. Right? So you have to somehow not fake it, but you have to be compassionate about them, that maybe, yeah, I don't know what they learned, but they don't get it somehow. Not everybody needs to get every idea, right? So it's not a question of judging them, but it's a matter of just being compassionate. So those are the three very important skills for an innovator, entrepreneur, for sure: passion, dispassion, compassion.
I like that. It's a very easy kind of sound bites as well, but the dispassion especially really is a new concept, at least for me, and resonates loudly. It's interesting. So when we think about entrepreneurship, I think about entrepreneurs and yourself at Shell as an example in the 2 decades you spent almost in Houston. I think what's really interesting is about transforming the transformational process of entrepreneurship when successful. right? It's transforming minds, it's transforming organizations or teams, it's transforming ultimately the impact on the world. And I think if we're building the bridge between today and the entrepreneurs of, of the future, we are talking about the amount of systems level change that needs to happen here to move our world in a better place and to right side it, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. And the need is so dire because the whole world order has transformed itself, right, since the last 12 months. It was a Chinese virus. It was in China. We saw it in the news. Afterwards, it became Italy's virus, like it was in Italy, Spain. We saw it in the news, but we didn't do anything till it became close to us, right? And then we all panicked, like, oh my God. So
And
that's
every nation followed that same thing. I mean, every nation until it was in their face, which is a theme of humanity, right? Until it's yours, you don't
yeah.
respond.
So that's a big insight that this virus, it has been detrimental on so many levels, but it has woken up so many people that the world is flat. We are all so connected, right? So we cannot just relax just because it's not our problem. So I think three or four multiple vectors have come to our society: the COVID-19 vector and associated mental health challenges, unemployment, fear, all this I associate with the COVID-19 vector.
Absolutely.
Second vector, which also exists, is climate change. Like many places in California, for sure, have seen fires, thunderstorms, etc.,
I think
etc.
2020 was the second warmest year in
Warmest year,
record, right? And
yeah,
it was this warmest, and then there was another one in the past 5 years that was the second warmest. So it's very real.
yeah. And so climate change is a very big vector, and there are multiple other vectors like corruption, systemic racism that blew up, and it was always there, but it was mainstream. It was in your right
Yep,
there. So those vectors, and there could be other vectors depending on which geography and which country you are specifically in.
of course.
But what happens is that the, the leaders are now responsible to make decisions, right? Leaders have to build back better, hashtag, whatever that needs to be done. And there is no playbook, there is no MBA program that has taught you how to deal with COVID-19.
All of these things.
Yeah, so that is where we are all confused, frustrated, anxious, fearful, and yeah, it's like, what do we do? Because there is no right or wrong thing, right? So that is where I think leaders need to look inward, that there is something intuitive that is guiding you, guiding us when we are in that quandary sometimes. And that force, you can call it whatever name, but that inner power needs to be invoked. And inner power is entrepreneurship. So these entrepreneurs are in large organizations. And if we can invoke that inner power of an organization through creating the space for the entrepreneurs, allowing them to bring ideas to the attention of the CEO, to the attention of the leader, you don't know from which left field an idea will come that will have the ramification effect of transformation. Because transformation needs to have, I think, two things. The first is a deep sense of awakening that is like a calling, like, I better do something, like that fire needs to come like a calling. And the second is, it's a long journey. It's a lot of twists and turns and pit stops. So the leader needs to have patience. And I think that is where, yeah, you have to create atmospheres where you are not alone. How can you bring your organization with you and your ecosystem with you? because you are all affected.
Yeah.
So how do you channel that energy, that inner power?
Yeah.
And creativity has no bounds. Once somebody has the passion and they are given the right support systems to bring that idea to life, creativity has no bound. We can solve any problem.
And which I love, and I agree. And I think one of the things that, let's go back to what you started with, which is you get hired into a job typically, because of your degree, your skill sets, whatever. And sometimes this, tempered radical, the passion that you have burning inside you, even when you recognize it, right? And it's a calling to something bigger than yourself. It might take time to get to a place where people believe it, buy into it, as we're saying. So how do organizations in this world where everything is on fire and we need so much creativity and innovation and leadership, right? And change and transformation, how do organizations kind of, if you will, foster this entrepreneurial energy and spirit and really kind of, if you will, groom the future of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I would say once you are a senior leader, most of the times the seniority doesn't mean that that person understands innovation. In fact, it's the other way around. I think you become a senior leader because you have kept things under control,
Status quo.
under budget. Yeah. Innovation is associated with failure. Like if you not give people the opportunity to fail and say failure is okay, I would say if you're not doing that, you're not innovating, because innovation associated with failure, right? So
I'm laughing because this is why we get along so well. But yes, keep going.
yeah, so you have to look at people who have this inbuilt mechanism of thinking radical, and those are not people that have the PhDs and have presented at conferences. Those could be people who were thrown out of conferences for presenting something so radical that it created a stir, right? So usually these people are hidden because that aspect is not encouraged, it's actually slapped, right? So year end reviews, you have actually killed that innovative spirit because of your HR processes, etc., etc.
Yeah,
So
I
the
call
first,
it the pass go collect $200 mechanism of corporate America. It's like just for playing Monopoly, you move around the board one more time, you get $200. Like, stick your head down, keep quiet, don't rock the boat.
yeah, so you have to find a creative way to attract the entrepreneur that is in your organization, and I'm sure there are hundreds of them. But you have to find a way to give the carrot so that they come to you.
Yes.
For example, one of the things we did at Shell uh, is we hired a mariachi, and we walked behind the mariachi in this technology research center. The mariachi was playing, singing, and we were behind. And of course, many people, when they saw a mariachi, they gave all these weird looks. But some of them got the twinkle in their eye. They started following you, and those are the people that get it, right?
That's
The,
brilliant.
yeah, so you have to find a way to attract that entrepreneur. They are there. For example, another thing we did is in Houston gets very hot, and in the parking lot there was only one parking lot with a shade. There was a tree, and so we put a placard on that parking spot that said "Innovator of the Month," and
Incentivizing. Everyone wants that spot.
nobody parked. So we could park, something like that, right? That tells you the culture of the organization. That
Very funny.
so you have to create these ways of attracting the entrepreneur. And in this age of the millennials and Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen M also,
Alphas, yeah.
there are so many ways to find those entrepreneurs. And once you find them, you have to create a hive so that they pollinate, like they cross pollinate. And those systems, if your intention is there, you can create those systems to encourage that behavior. I was lucky to get the game changer title on my business card, but creating something like this so that when somebody presents an idea and you give them whatever money and say to them and their boss that, you know, this is a game changer idea, then usually that person's line manager doesn't have the guts to kill the idea because it's a game changer project.
Right, of course.
So it's an internal recognition that we recognize your idea and we support your idea. Here is some money.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So Manda, it's the last question. We're going to wrap up here. What is your hope or vision for the future of entrepreneurship in light of your experience, expertise, teaching on meditation, nonviolence, leadership, social innovation, sustainability? What is your hope or vision?
Well, I think the hope is that there are entrepreneurs, and these entrepreneurs are all over the place. Like I teach, communities infected with violence. I teach former gang members. Those guys are so creative. They are entrepreneurs of their community. All you need to do is kindle their innovative thinking and ask them to solve their problem, which is violence in the community, right? So cities can also encourage citizens to look at entrepreneurships and solving your own problems by encouraging passion. So my hope is because of these vectors, and the challenges are not just going away just because somebody has made a vaccine. Right. So this is a long-term vector that has hit you, and the entrepreneur needs to activate. It's like a Jedi, right? It's like a Jedi. So you have to activate yourself that this is the time that your superpowers are needed, which is radical thinking. And you need to learn and build your muscle on cultivating your tempered radicalness. And the hope is that you will find each other, because again, one entrepreneur alone can't do it. So you have to find a hive where you pollinate, cross pollinate. Sometimes it may not be even in your organization, right? Sometimes you may need to find other people. Like I personally, last 10 months, I made a daily habit. I will add 5 new people on LinkedIn every day. That's how I connected with you, right?
Yeah.
Because we have to find each other. We are there. The people who think out of the box are there. We just need to find each other.
That's great. I really appreciate you joining us on Future of XYZ, Manda. It's a fascinating conversation on the future of entrepreneurship with huge ramifications and hopefulness for organizations, cities, and the world at large. So thank you for your expertise and for your passion.
Oh, thank you for what you're curating. This is brilliant. I have enjoyed so many of your past interviews.
Thank you very much.
People can reach out to me if they feel like I can be of help to them. So
absolutely. I'll tag you in all the things, and mandaapte.com, I think, as well. Excellent.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Mandar. Thanks for joining us today on Future of XYZ.